Hi, my name's Thomas Barkin, and I'll be going over the milestone for Echidna group Otoño sprint code. So our group was made up of me and Fengsheng Zhu. We used the instructor code in the end for testing. The code we wrote, as there are too many problems in the legacy code as we were sorting through, is getting hard to tell where the errors were coming from, um, although we were pretty close to fixing it. So we used the milestone for prep code base, which means that most of our changes are in the SQL exec file. A couple other changes to note were in the parse to string file, particularly for the new milestone 4 functions, for the index and drop and the index and show, I believe were the two funky ones. Um, then in SQL exec, we wrote the destructor. We initialized the tables and indices in the execute function. It's basically where all of the calls to SQL exec from the shell go through. The switch statement provided directs the statement towards the proper function. Column definition, this gets the column name and column attribute from the column definition type. The column definition type is from Hyres, defined here, and that's just to convert from their data type to our data type. Um, Now continuing on, create, we have a switch statement to direct towards create table or create index. For create table, we have this big try loop or try catch here. And this is in case we have to do any rollbacks, which are taken care of down in the catch. The rollbacks would be, as we're adding columns, we might get a column name that's unacceptable, in which case we'll have to take out all of the columns we've added. Was the logic behind having that in there. At the very end here, we get the new table from this provided get table function in the schema that creates and adds the new heap table into the cache. Create index operates very similarly, although there's a lot more columns to take care of. So we have the same try loop here, our try statement here, and then we roll back changes. Let's see. In drop, we we similarly route with the switch statement, whether we're dropping table or dropping index. Dropping table was from milestone 3. There's a little piece that was added milestone 4 down here at the bottom that delete indices on table. And so that if we're dropping a table and it has indices created for it, existing for it, then we'll have to get rid of those indices too. We don't need to keep them around. But so we delete the table by deleting the row from tables, deleting the rows from columns, deleting the indices, and then up here which we did first, which is fine. We get the table and drop it. We get the table from the cache and then drop the heap table. Drop index works very similarly, but using indices instead of tables, um, or instead of columns. The show statement, we have the switch statement to either show tables, show columns, or show index. Show tables, pretty straightforward. We just select all of the rows in tables, and then we get the headers for them, the columns name, the column names, and then we create all the objects that we need to output. and we create the new query result. Show columns, similar thing here. We want to show that columns table. So we get all the rows for the specified table, and we get the column names to provide to the query result. Show index, same thing. We get the there could be multiple in column name. Yeah, so we get the table name, we get the column names and attributes from the indices table. The attributes aren't really relevant. We're mostly interested in the column names. The attributes is relevant because we provided in the output. But we create the rows. The rows, we select table name, and we select and then project all of the rows in indices for the table name provided. And so this could be multiple different indices or multiple rows for the same indices. But yeah, so um, that's about it for Sprint Otoño. If you have any questions, feel free to reach out to us. And yeah, hope you found this video helpful.